everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be getting into the new foundation that was launched from Makeup by Mario. This is called the Surreal Skin Foundation. This just launched at Sephora. You can buy it in store, you can buy it online, you can also pick it up on his website. I've actually been wearing this foundation for the last couple of days. Today is day 4 of me testing this out, and I've wore it with different primers. I've wore it with powder, without powder. I really have a good feel for the foundation. When I do foundation reviews, I like to wear them a couple of days before I kind of share my thoughts on it. Now in this review, I am going to be doing a daylight check-in where I take you guys outside, zoom you guys in real close so you guys can see how the foundation looks and wears out in the natural daylight. And then I will be doing a 11 to 12 hour check-in where I zoom you guys in real close, let you guys see how it's wearing and looking several hours later. Before we get into the information about the foundation, up here on the screen is an image of my age, my skin type, and what I like and what I dislike in foundation. I always feel it's important for the audience to know what the person behind the camera likes and dislikes when it comes to foundations. We all need and want something different from our foundation especially, so I feel like this information is important for the audience to know. I will also list this information down in the description box down below, along with popular foundations out on the market and what shades I wear in those foundations, so you guys can get a good idea for my complexion and how it references to the shade that I'm wearing in today's video. So let's go ahead and jump into the details on this foundation. This foundation retails for $42. It comes in 30 different shades. I actually have 2 shades here. I bought 12.0 and 14.0, and in the video and in the review and for the last couple of days, I've been wearing the shade 14.0, but I will swatch both of these shades next to other foundations that I have so you guys can see how the shade compares. This is being described as a breathable, luminous foundation that effortlessly builds and blends to illuminate the complexion with customizable long-wearing coverage. It is a foundation that reveals skin's natural luminosity. It features moisture grip technology and hydrates the skin and glides on easily for a customizable coverage. The buildable formula works with both powders and creams while staying true to its original color. So this is being described as a natural finish, hydrating, long-wearing, and medium coverage. I have a lot to say about this foundation, good and bad. We're gonna get into it. Let's go ahead and jump into the application. I'm gonna go ahead and apply it on camera, share with you guys my preferred way to apply it, because I have kind of found that perfect way for me to apply this foundation. Then we will get into my daylight check-in where I take you guys outside, zoom you guys in close so you guys can see how it looks. Then we will jump into the swatches and comparisons, and that's where you guys will see how these 2 shades compare to the other shades that I have. And then I will come back later on this evening, zoom you guys in real close, let you guys see how it's looking several hours later. And in that check-in, I will go ahead and jump into my final thoughts and share all of my experience with this foundation for the last 4 days and who I feel this foundation is right for. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the application, and I will see you guys all in my final thoughts. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into applying this new foundation from Makeup by Mario. I put on my skincare maybe an hour ago, but my skin is still a little shiny from it, but I'm not gonna put on anything underneath it. I'm just gonna wear the foundation as it is. I've wore it with a few different primers. I've wore it with the Magic Cream from Charlotte Tilbury, the Tatcha Silk Canvas, and the mattifying primer from Tom Ford. So those are the 3 that I've worn it with, and today during the wear test, I'm just gonna wear it over top of my skin without anything underneath it. So I bought 2 shades for the review. I bought shade 12.0 and 14.0, but 14 has actually been a pretty good shade for me. I think it was described for medium with warm olive undertones, and it does have a nice tone to it. So it's not too olive, it's not too warm. It has a good tone to it. I'm gonna use a brush to blend this all over the face, and then I'll use a sponge to push it into the skin. Okay, so I like to do a nice even application with a brush, and then I'll pick up what's left here on my hand, not all of it, but just a little bit, put it here on this sponge, because with this foundation, I've noticed with a brush, you can get a more even application, but for me, and my experience with this foundation, it needs to be pushed into the skin with a sponge. So it's almost like if I don't push it into the skin with a sponge, it kind of sets on top of the skin. Kind of pushing it into the skin kind of allows it to adhere to the skin and be more natural than the brush, because this one is creamier and it does show brush marks. Now, I've used it with a dirty brush and a clean brush. Obviously, a clean brush is the best way to go if you want to avoid brush marks. It does have that thickness to it, almost gel-like, and it shows brush marks. So if you're someone who likes to apply your foundations with a brush, I recommend pushing it into the skin with a sponge to really give that skin-like finish. You can see it has a luminosity to it, and I have built up this foundation. Not my favorite to build up over texture. So I get Botox on my forehead, here on the center of my brows, and right here on my crow's feet. But I don't have anything else on my face. So this area along here is more of my problematic area. It's more of the orange peel texture, some adult acne scarring, you know, along here. Those are the areas that I like to have a little bit more coverage. This can be a little problematic. So the days that I did build up the coverage, it didn't wear the best in those areas, especially along the wrinkles and texture and that orange peel look. So if you're someone who wants more coverage, I recommend using a concealer to spot conceal and use this over top. I don't really like the way that this builds over texture, orange peel, and stuff like that on its own. Like if you're someone who has like dry spots, this might be one that will cling to it. So just kind of be mindful of that. The one thing that I do really like about this foundation is it has a beautiful luminosity to it, and it almost has borderline maybe like a highlighting effect. Something similar to maybe like the Hollywood Falls filter from Charlotte Tilbury or the new one from e.l.f. It's almost like that is incorporated with the foundation, which does make it look really pretty. It does. It gives it that really pretty shine. But if you have enlarged pores, I would maybe use concealer over your enlarged pores and use the foundation everywhere else, because I feel like this one has a tendency to emphasize. So just, you know, something to think about. I'm going to leave the application here just because I don't want to apply too much. The trick with this one is not getting too heavy-handed with it. Any issues that I've had with this foundation over the last 3 days, it's in those areas where I've gotten too heavy-handed. So it doesn't really look the best over the orange peel and the wrinkle and texture if you get too much in those areas. Now, if you apply it and you feel like you've gotten too much, I just recommend taking a clean spot on your sponge and just going over it and kind of picking up any extra foundation that might be sitting in that area. So that's it for the application portion of the video. Right now it is 11:35 in the morning, so I'm going to wear this for probably 11 to 12 hours today. We're going to get into it. I will see you guys all in my daylight check-in. So I am back to do a quick check-in. My son's puppy is going to be at the window crying. So I'm going to have to make this short and sweet because he wants to come out and I can't watch him and do this check-in at the same time. He's still a puppy and he needs to be watched. Right now it is 4:11. So I've had it on for, I don't even know, maybe 5 hours or something. I can't remember. But anyway, I wanted to go ahead and zoom you guys in since I'm sitting out here on the porch. It's been snowing all day. I'll switch you guys around in just a minute. Hold on. I'll be back in just a minute. He is like pissed. So this is what it looks like around my chin area. It looks pretty good. It hasn't worn down too much. Still looks fairly good around here and around the nose. I mean, it hasn't had a lot of wear time, but I'm gonna lose daylight if I don't do it now. Looks really good around the forehead. But this is kind of my problematic area, and this will be the area that I kind of watch. And it looks pretty good over this area. It's not really lifting here on the center of the forehead or anything, but it doesn't really feel like it's going to either. So, I mean, it's been really cold today, but this is how it's looking here on the wrinkles. I have a little pimple right there that I picked that's still kind of gross. So, but yeah, it doesn't feel like it's gonna lift and pull away from the skin or anything. So that's definitely a good sign. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. I'm gonna lose daylight here in about 30 minutes and it's super cold outside. Holy crap, we got so much snow. But yeah, so far I think the foundation's worn pretty well. I'm gonna switch you guys around really fast and show you guys what it looks like outside. So this is what it's looking like outside right now. It's been snowing all day and the roads are awful. I just got back from taking my husband to go get his truck and yeah, the roads are bad. Anyway, that's it for this quick check-in. Let's go ahead and jump into the swatches. I'm gonna swatch the 2 shades that I have next to other foundations that I have in my collection, and then I will jump into my final thoughts. So I will see you guys then. Okay, so I am back to do my final check-in. It is currently 10:41 p.m. So we're in between the 11 and 12 hour mark. And let's go ahead and zoom in on this foundation. I'm exhausted. You can kind of see how shiny I am. Like I mentioned in my daylight check-in, I did not powder this. So I am definitely looking a little shiny. You can see I've lost some of the coverage along the hairline, but you'll notice that even though it's pretty shiny here on the center of my forehead, it's not lifting and pulling away from the skin. Where I just touched it, it lifts the foundation a little bit, but like I mentioned in my daylight check-in, I did not powder this. So when I have powdered this, I don't get as shiny, but I wanted you guys to see what it looks like without powder for those that don't wear powder. But all along here, it still looks really good. The orange peel along here definitely starts to emphasize as the day progresses, like, you know, just a little bit, but powder also helps that for me as well. But it still looks really good along my jaw. I really haven't lost a lot of coverage along here. It does emphasize a little bit of that orange peel area, but this foundation still looks pretty dang good. It does. Okay, so I do hope that that footage was helpful. Let me go ahead and jump into my final thoughts. I actually really like this foundation. I think it is a beautiful foundation. It wears beautifully. It's really natural looking. It was a little bit apprehensive because I thought it was going to be similar to the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation, which that foundation looks really pretty when I first apply it, but it does not last very long on me. And it like pulls and breaks away from the skin. It just doesn't look good. So I was a little bit concerned about this foundation, but I was pleasantly surprised. This is a beautiful foundation. The whole time I've been testing this foundation, it's reminded me of this foundation from Chantecaille. This is the Future Skin. It's an oil-free gel foundation, and the way that this applies on the skin, I feel like this one from Makeup by Mario is very similar. It like kind of the way that it blends and kind of melts into the skin, it does have that like gel-like texture, and it's really beautiful. It is. Now, the one thing that I do want to mention is that I don't feel like this is going to work for everyone. There are some problematic things with it. I think because it does have that illuminating property to it, it's going to emphasize pores, and it does start to emphasize some of like the orange peel and stuff, especially along here. All the 4 days that I have worn this foundation, my favorite way to wear it is with the Tatcha Silk Canvas, pressing it over top of the pores, and then I put it like over top of the orange peel area, then go in with the foundation, and then setting it with the Hourglass setting powder. That combination has been my favorite because this kind of gives me a little bit of a barrier so that it doesn't emphasize as much. Because this does have that illumination to it, it's really light, but you can still see it. You can see the effects of it on the skin. Because of that, it has a tendency to emphasize. So if you have enlarged pores, I don't know that you will love this one. I think those who have dry skin will probably enjoy it. I would just recommend wearing it with a more hydrating primer or moisturizer underneath it. I will say the day that I wore it that I didn't love it was with the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream. The Magic Cream was just a little bit too much hydration for this foundation, for me personally. And I would say I'm more normal right now. I'm not super dry. I'm not oily. I'm kind of in the normal range right now as far as my skin goes. This foundation doesn't have any mattifying properties to it, right? So it does allow the natural oils to come through. The thing that I do like about it is that when the natural oils come through, the foundation does stay in place. It holds up with the natural oils. Now, if you're somebody that's really oily, you might struggle with this one a little bit because it has that moisturizing, hydrating property to it. But I think if you prep your skin good with a good mattifying primer and you use one of your favorite setting powders to really help lock the oils, I think this might be a good foundation for you as well. I think this foundation will work for a wide variety of people as far as skin type goes. But I think if you have enlarged pores, if you struggle with adult acne, if you're having acne breakouts and stuff, I don't know that this one's going to be the best one for you at the moment because it does have those illuminating properties, and so it will emphasize. It can emphasize wrinkles, it can emphasize pores, it can emphasize, you know, acne and stuff like that. So it kind of depends on your skin, but overall, personally, for me on a personal level, I'm absolutely in love with this foundation, and I really love the shade. This is a nice olive tone. It does have some warmth to it. So if you are on the olive side and you don't want any warmth, then this might not be the one for you. For me, it works great because the olive kind of breaks up the warmth in the foundation. And when I went into Sephora and bought the foundation, I swatched the warm undertone and it was really warm. And I knew it wouldn't work. And so that was the reason why I went with the olive, and I'm really glad I did. But overall, it's a beautiful foundation. It is. And on a scale from 1 to 5, I would probably give it close to a 5. I really can't find anything negative that I personally don't like about it. It looks absolutely beautiful with the Tatcha Silk Canvas and powdering it and setting it. It was just flawless the entire day, and it looked so natural. And yes, I wouldn't say that this is a super long wearing foundation, but if you get the right shade, and it matches you good, it will wear off really naturally. It doesn't just pull away and get splotchy. It wears off really natural and looks really good. So I love it. In fact, it might be one of my new favorite foundations. Like I mentioned in the application, don't go heavy-handed with it. It's not really one that likes to be built up in my experience. Any of the places that I got too heavy-handed with it, it just didn't look good. So I would not recommend going in heavy in any of the areas, especially over texture or wrinkles, I would go really light in that area. If you want to make the foundation work and you need more coverage in those areas, just spot conceal with concealer first and go in with a really thin layer of this over top to kind of even it out, and you'll be good. I just wouldn't build up the coverage with this one. That's my advice. But overall, I absolutely love it. I think it's beautiful. He knocked it out of the ballpark, and I'm kind of excited to try the new concealer because I hear through the grapevine that he has a concealer coming out next, and I can't wait to try it because this was impressive. This is a beautiful foundation. So those are my overall thoughts. Sound off down below. How many of you guys have tried this foundation? What's your skin type and what's been your experience? I'm so curious to hear how you guys are all feeling about this. So sound off down below. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me in today's video. I hope you guys all have a wonderful and happy, healthy new year, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Love you. Bye.